we're going to read chapter 3. I'm a day late. Sorry, I'm going to try to do better about doing this every day. The weekends get me way off schedule, though. Okay, chapter 3, The Best of Friends. Mandy could hardly wait for recess. She rushed into the playground as soon as the bell rang. "Hi, James," she yelled as James came across the other side of the playground. "Well," he said, coming over, "what's your wonderful idea? I'm dying to know." "It's about your puppy," Mandy said. James looked puzzled. "I haven't got a puppy," he said. "That's what my ad was about. I want a puppy. Mom and Dad have promised to buy me one, but I don't have one yet." "I know," said Mandy, "but you didn't see the notice I put up, did you?" James shook his head. "No. What was it about?" he said. "You know Miss Lawson at Mooncroft Farm?" Mandy asked. James thought for a moment. "Oh, yes," he said. "She breeds dogs, doesn't she?" Mandy nodded. "She breeds Labradors, and Molly, one of her Labradors, just had a litter of puppies." She looked at James, her eyes sparkling. "Miss Lawson would love for good homes for them. How would you like an adorable Labrador puppy, James?" James looked at her for a moment. Then he grinned. "I would love one," he said. "A Labrador? Do you think she would really let me have one?" Mandy smiled. "I'm sure she would," she said. "I'm going to Mooncroft with Mom to see the puppies soon. Why don't you come along and have a look at them?" James's eyes lit up. "Could I?" he asked. Mandy nodded. "You could see if you like any of them," she said. "And you could help me choose," James said. "You know so much about animals, Mandy." Mandy shook her head. "Not that much," she said, "but I'm learning. I've got all sorts of books about animals, and I'd love to help you choose a puppy." "Maybe I could borrow a book about Labradors," James said shyly. Mandy smiled. "Of course you can," she said. "Come over to Animal Ark after school and I'll lend you one." By the time the bell rang for the end of recess, Mandy and James had made a plan. "Mom!" Mandy called, rushing into Animal Ark after school. "In here," her mother called back. Mandy dumped her school bag and raced into the kitchen. She loved the kitchen at Animal Ark. It had oak beams and bright red curtains on the windows. There was a huge pine table in the middle of the room. Dr. Emily was sitting at it with Mandy's grandmother. "Oh, hi, Grandma," Mandy said, her eyes lighting up. She looked at the plate of cookies on the table. "Did you make those?" Grandma's eyes twinkled. "I certainly did," she said. "They're newly baked this afternoon. Come over and have one." "Not before you've washed your hands," said Dr. Emily. Mandy went to the sink. "Oh, Mom, you'll never guess," she said. "James Hunter's parents want to buy him a puppy, and I told him about Molly. Can he come with us to see the puppies and choose one? I said he could, and he's coming in a little while to see what you think. And I've promised to lend him a book on Labradors. Don't you think it would be wonderful if he took one? Then we'd have one of Molly's puppies living right in our own town." "Heavens," said Grandmother. "You're like a runaway train." Emily laughed. Or Dr. Emily laughed. "Have a glass of milk, Mandy," she said. "And why don't you try all that again? What's this about James Hunter and a puppy?" Mandy sat down at the table and poured herself some milk from a big blue and white striped pitcher. Grandma put a plate with some cookies on it in front of her. "Now," said Grandma, "why don't you start at the beginning?" Mandy took a deep breath and went through the story again. "I think it's a great idea," Dr. Emily said when she had finished. "Tell James he's welcome to come to Mooncroft with us." The doorbell rang and Mandy jumped up. "I will," she said. "That must be him now. He only stopped home to tell his mom he was coming here." Grandma and Dr. Emily looked at each other. Just as well I made a double batch of cookies then, isn't it?" Grandma said as Mandy ran to let James in. James came into the kitchen, looking earnestly at Dr. Emily. "Mandy has told us all about you getting a puppy, James," Dr. Emily said. "Now sit down and have some cookies and a glass of milk, and tell me when you'd like to go to Mooncroft." "Oh, as soon as possible." James said eagerly. He sat down beside Mandy at the table. Grandma laughed. Just like Mandy, she said, always in a hurry. James flushed. Oh, sorry, he said. I mean, whenever you think. Dr. Emily looked at him. But the sooner the better, she said gently. James smiled up at her. Oh, yes, he said. You don't know how much I want a puppy of my own. My parents want one, too. The sooner the better. Grandma looked at Mandy and James sitting side by side at the table. Something tells me the two of you are going to become the best of friends, she said. We already are, Mandy said. James loves animals, and of course, we're the best of friends. So the next chapter, A Puppy for James. And I will try to read that tomorrow.